Hi, you here for the AI meeting?
Yes.
AI for everyone.
I'm running it.
Perfect. What?
I'm running the event.
No, you're not. I am.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How you
Harry.
Hello. Oh my god. You're here. I see you multiple times a day now. I know. You're coming to one of my places, so welcome. Thank you.
So I'm seeing whether if we stream it on YouTube from my phone, whether it's a better experience.
Also, you're doing a live stream today?
I think so. Yeah. This is the. I think, and then if I just put that link in the chat.
But for next
Yeah.
week, then,
Yeah.
do you want to do it this way as well? Or?
I think for next week, probably a Google Meet would work better because it will be to have be two ways. I think so. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah. Or yeah. Yeah. I asked Steve. Steve's not available to do the. Hi. Nice to see you. You can. You can take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat. Yeah. You, yeah. Yeah. I know, yeah, yeah. And we have the white curtain, maybe, yeah. Yeah. Well, nice to meet you. Feel to take Harry. Harry, yeah. Anna, nice to meet you. Tyler, nice to meet you, brother. Yeah, take a seat, take a seat. So we're talking all today about GLM 5.2, which is an open source model. Yeah. And yeah, you heard of it. So yeah, take a seat. Oh, perfect. About 2 years. 2 years now? Yeah. A long time. Yeah. Just going to share the link with the community because we stream these as well for people that leave Bali. So yeah. Well, yeah, we usually get a good turnout, about 20 or so people, and talk through some of the news. I used to be a journalist, tech journalist, so yeah. Where did you live before? Where were you before? Where did I live before? In Vietnam, actually. So yeah. In Hoi An, I lived, and in Da Nang. Yep. On YouTube this week. So let me know if this is. Check that is okay. Okay. Do you mind if I'll like some pictures or just? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, feel free to yeah, absolutely, as much as you want, and yeah, you can put them on social media as well. So tag me. Yeah. You're the one who does it every Tuesday? I do, yes, Tuesday 7 o'clock. So my background is in journalism actually, and I also work for a company called Gcore, who are like data center GPU if you want to host open source models. So yes, yeah, I've been running this meetup now for about 2 years, so a long time. So, yeah. Damn. So I love it. Yeah. So the purpose is just to talk about what's been happening this week in AI. So as a journalist, I'm going to tell you what I think the significant stories are, and then also we'll do some demonstration as well. So some things that I've built, maybe that other people have built, that are hopefully useful. We've got it AI for everyone, so we sometimes have some researchers. So this week we might get a little bit technical, talking about some of the papers behind GLM 5.2, and we also have sometimes business people as well that come. So we've had some people from OpenAI and from Google actually come through as well. So yeah. Yeah, we can. We'll also go to Cafe Coach, I think, at the end as well. You know, Cafe Coach. So we'll have over the road. Yeah, yeah. So we'll do an hour of me talking. You guys can ask some questions, and then we can go and have more informal drinks across the road. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Uh, I am Cool Code. Gemini, I don't use as much, but sometimes I use Gemini. Yeah, big fan of Claude. Claude is my main workhorse, I would say for sure. And you guys, what are you guys using? Yeah.
I never actually used the ChatGPT, and like every time when I use Gemini, I'm like talking about like it makes no sense, and I'm like, okay, that's wrong.
Good, yeah, okay. So we'll give everyone 2 more minutes and then we'll make a start. Usually we have 10 or 15 people or so who come by, and so but people are sometimes a bit late. So yeah, yeah. I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Starting time is we say Friday.
Yes, exactly. Barley time. Now, would you mind doing me a favor? Hello, it's good to see you, my man. Eh? Take a seat. Take a seat. Would one of you mind going on my YouTube channel and just checking that the stream is working okay? Because it's streaming from my phone, but on the computer it seems to have frozen. So yeah, sure. Yeah. So if you go to BWork members, and then the code should be AI founders. Yeah. Hello. I take a seat. Take a seat. Yeah. So it's AI all caps AI founders in guest access token. Yeah. Yep. Perfect. So my YouTube channel is Harry Verity at Harry Verity. Yes. So we're gonna put it on YouTube. So yeah. So we're just checking to make sure it's working. So we've got some people outside of Bali who are joining us. No sweat, buddy. No sweat, buddy.
Yeah, you're good.
We're good. Okay. We are live here. If you wanna watch remotely. Oh, amazing. All right, let's make a start. I'm sure some more people will join us late a little bit in a minute. All right, everyone. This is the weekly AI for Everyone meetup. Take a seat. Yeah. So we go over some news, some demonstrations, and we also talk about some research papers as well. So a little bit about me. I'm Harry. I started as a tech journalist, writing for some of the newspapers you might have heard of, The Guardian, The Independent. And then I transitioned about 2 or 3 years ago solely into being an AI consultant and also being a YouTuber. I actually make videos for a corporate company, G-Core, and they are who you go to if you're a massive enterprise and you want to run AI. You obviously can't be sending all your data to ChatGPT or Claude. So they can spin you up an open source model and take care of all your servers and all your cybersecurity requirements as well. So I'm the face of their YouTube channel. We've been running this meetup for about a year. Yeah, take a seat, guys. Take a seat. For about 2 years. And really, the purpose of the meeting is to bring everybody together. We've got some researchers in the room. We've got Luis from Google, of Google fame, working in cybersecurity now and not in YouTube, I believe. Right? So hopefully here to help us through some of the more technical aspects of AI. So this week we're going to be talking all about GLM 5.2. What is it? Why is it important, and how might this solve some of your issues with token usage and running out of usage on Claude, especially in the era of Fable 5, right? I don't know about you, about me. I've been completely cancelled this week after about 3 days of using Fable 5. I did use it all, so it's a beast at video editing, as we'll be able to see. I'll take a seat, take a seat. Absolute beast at video editing, and I'm addicted to using it, and unfortunately burned through all of my plan. So yeah, so we'll talk about GLM 5.2, why it's significant, what it is, okay, and then we're going to talk about how you can actually go about using it. And I also want to talk very specifically about how can you make your context portable. So by context, we mean all of our files, our skills, our knowledge. We want to move away from Claude Code, and we want to be model agnostic, they say, which is where we don't care about the model, we just care about the workflow. Let's say you want to use GPT 5.6 Soul because it's just launched and Claude haven't caught up. Maybe we get Gemini 4. I don't know, maybe Lewis can tell us a little bit about whether that's going on. Maybe he's giving stuff. You want to be able to move your context around. You don't want to be trapped by one particular model, and that's really important. So I'm going to show you a system you can create to actually be able to do that I use myself, and how you can start thinking about AI in that terms, because the models are changing so quickly and the prices are changing so quickly. I think it's really, really quite important that we think about that. What is it that we want to keep ourselves instead of being locked into one model? So let's start then by asking you, who here has heard of GLM 5.2? Oh, well, that's good. A couple of people. Who here is like, what the hell are you talking about? What is this? Yeah, some people, kind of a little bit. So we've got two types of AI. Let's start here. We've got closed source. So I'm probably bet you are all familiar, of course, with Claude, with Gemini, and indeed with Open AI's model GPT. These are closed source models. It means we pay per usage for them. We pay either in a subscription or every time we want to use them, we're basically paying them for access. We've got an open source models as well. And the difference between a closed source model and an open source model is that an open source model is something that is the code, if you like, the software is entirely open, and you can port it and you can run it yourself. But of course, if you're going to do that, guess what? You've got to be in charge of setting it up yourself. You've got to rent a GPU. You've got to rent a computer that's powerful enough to run it. So a lot of the Chinese models are just that. They're open source models. And you can literally run them yourselves. And there's, of course, pros and cons to that, right? If you can run them yourself, it's amazing, but they're perhaps not censored. You can tweak the source code a little bit, something that we call open weights as well, which is a kind of a middle ground. But the negatives to that are, obviously, you're going to have to be in charge of spinning it up yourself. Okay, so you've got to figure out how you're going to rent a GPU that's large enough to run it, how are you going to quantize it, how are you going to do all these sort of complicated things. And so increasingly, the closed source models, Anthropic and ChatGPT, are becoming more and more expensive, as you've seen. I think it's about $25 per million output tokens for an Opus 4.8 and $5 input tokens. So if you're building out a SaaS or you're building out a product, then it's going to be expensive. So the open source models are often cheaper. If you want to spin them up because they're available, you can spin them up through an API call, and a third-party provider has spun them up for you. And so we had a series of these open source models which were just as powerful as the closed source ones. We had DeepSeek. Who here's heard of DeepSeek and been using it? We had this amazing DeepSeek moment where it came out and it was super, super powerful, and it pushed OpenAI to release their models 03 and 04. And it really, really pushed the conversation in the technology forward. Recently, we've had an open source model from China, and I think Tennyson AI put some money into it. Alibaba put some money into it. A lot of the big players have put some money into this company to develop this model called GLM. They recently put out GLM 5.2, and the reason it's making headlines is because a lot of people are saying and arguing that it is just as powerful as Fable 5 or GPT 5.6 Soul. But if it's just as powerful, and it's an open source model, It's obviously significantly cheaper. And it obviously poses the question, what is the moat? What is the moat around some of these models? So let's have a look and actually have a play with it. So how would you go about getting access to this? I've talked obviously about spinning it up on a GPU. If you're a regular consumer and you want to use this, you might want to look at using something like Perplexity. If we go on Perplexity, they've actually given you access to GLM 5.2. Are we still recording? Yep. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, yeah. So we've got GLM 5.2. You can access it this way. There's also a tool we can use called OpenRouter. So OpenRouter lets you pick any model you want, pretty much, whether it's open source or closed source. And if we go on GLM 5.2, we can see it here, and we can see the price of it, which is literally less than $1 per million input tokens, and almost $3, less than $3 per million output tokens. And this is obviously marked up on OpenRouter. OpenRouter are making some money on this. But it's a remarkable achievement to get something that is this efficient and is this powerful. I've been using it a little bit, and it has managed to solve some problems for me. It's been pretty interesting actually using this. Who here has actually had a chance to play with this? You have. What do you think of it so far? Yeah. GLM 5.2. Okay. Yeah. An open router. So it's a pretty interesting model, and on a lot of the benchmarks, it's getting very close, particularly in SWE Bench, which is the main benchmark we use for software. And so we kind of reach this point, and almost like a tipping point, where some of these kind of open source models are getting almost as powerful as the closed source ones, but they're very, very cheap. Lewis, have you used it? What are you thinking about this before we go a bit deeper into some of the stats about it? Yeah, and GLM in particular. Have you heard much about it? Okay, yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah, this would obviously be just to say way too big to run even on the most powerful MacBook. You couldn't really do that. What are they saying internally in Google about some of the open source models? How are they feeling about it? What's the conversation like? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No insights. Yeah. Okay. But it is obviously super interesting. So I guess before we get into the nitty gritty of using it, it's worth asking the question: okay, how have they done this? How have they made something which is so efficient and so cheap? Right. Well, one of the answers, if we ever want to know the answer to that question, is to look at the paper that the companies put out, which is what we're going to do, which is going to give us some insight into it. So if we type in GLM 5.2. Where are we? Benchmarks. So let's grab this up. When we say something's open source, by the way, what we mean is literally here on Hugging Face, which is like a sort of data set, as a piece of code for us to literally go in there and clone ourselves. So the way that you would spin it up is you'd grab you'd rent a GPU, you'd what we call SSH onto that GPU, which is like logging in from your computer to the GPU and installing things, and then you would literally clone the model onto the GPU. So really, really cool that you could just do that. Let's see if we can bring up. So I think they've put it here, so we can see some of the benchmarks, and we can see how it looks on coding performance. So we're right up there. We've got GPT 5.4, Opus 4.6, and that was 5.1. This is not, sorry, I don't think I'm looking at the right thing. All right, let me have another look. Perfect. So this is what we want. So when we look at this, one of the key insights is the long horizon task evaluation. This is kind of like the benchmark of the moment. This is the thing that everyone's talking about. So one of your experiences of using Fable 5 might be that it can run for longer periods of time. You don't have to kind of babysit it all the time. And this is the benchmark that everyone's talking about at the moment. GPT 5.6, Fable 5, it's how long they can run for. One of the most notable things these two models did was actually manage to do a complete 32 stage hack into a system, a complete cyber hack end to end. And none of the other models have been able to get even close to doing that. And the fact they've been able to do that so thoroughly was because they were able to run for such a long amount of time. They were able to go through all the different steps bit by bit, and you need to do them all sequentially, obviously, to get one piece of information to be able to attack the next piece of data. And we can see here that GLM 5.2 is getting pretty close to these models. Obviously, this is Opus 4.8 and GPT 5.5. And we can see here on the SWE Marathon as well, which is some of the software things. So the architecture is what's really, really interesting. We've got this DSA, which is a dense sparse attention, I think. Where are we? So what all this kind of looks like essentially is that they're being really, really clever with efficiency. So when you look at the actual benchmarks, you'll see the model is huge in terms of the number of parameters that is involved in it, which is essentially, if I'm right, it's the number of nodes in the architecture. But it doesn't fire them all at once. It fires only a small number of them because it's really, really efficient. It doesn't need to. And if we look at this, which is single token flops. Flops, who knows what flops are? Anyone know what flops are? Flops are floating operation points per second. So they're essentially the number of calculations that a model or a computer can do every second. And it's how we model the power of something and sort of how efficiency it is. So we can see that it's a lot more efficient when it comes to that in terms of tokens, in terms of the raw power that it's using. But it's still able to provide really, really great answers to it. And one of the ways that it does that is through the through the deep. Hang on, we'll talk. Yeah, we can talk about that in a minute, I think. But essentially, what I'm trying to communicate is that it's super efficient because the way that they handle the tokens is efficient, but at the same time, it's able to produce these really, really great answers and score really, really highly on all these benchmarks. And one of the things that we see coming out of China, and the reason the research out of China is really, really interesting, is you often see that they're running on shoestring budgets. They're doing some really clever things with distillation, which is where you take a massive model, you try to kind of hack the training data from it, and then use that to train a smaller model. And DeepSeek was allegedly only trained for $7 million. When you think about GPT-4, cost $100 million to train allegedly. Huge savings in efficiency through things like distillation. So they're always pushing the boundaries in terms of how can we be more efficient, how can we get more bang for our buck. And as we've seen, these models are just so much cheaper. So this is really why it's kind of exciting, is that as this intelligence level is growing in the closed source models, there are open source alternatives to be thinking about. And if you guys are thinking of running a business, who here has got is like in SaaS or building a SaaS platform, or okay, a couple of people, and I'm guessing you're using AI and some of the AI models in it. So thinking about these models and how these models can be used to execute, what your users are doing is super important. So you're not spending as much on tokens, and you can run a more efficient business. Who here is kind of interested in AI because you want to implement it in your workflow, in your corporate role? Not many people. Okay, a few people. What is everyone's general sort of interest in AI and how they can use it? Is it kind of to build things as a SaaS, or is it to implement it in jobs you already have? Implement it in what you're doing already. Yeah. So yes, to sum up then, yeah, GLM 5.2 is interesting and exciting because it's got a 1 million context window. It's super efficient, and also it's super cheap in what it can do. So the big question then is, obviously we've got all of this talk, what can it actually do? How can we produce some results with it?
And how is it different from the others?
Yes, yeah. In what way do you mean is it different? Like,
not in terms of like what they can do, but in terms of the way they do things.
Yeah.
How
Okay.
they build things.
Yeah. Okay. How they actually how it searches for things, for information on the web.
Just the research. But
Oh, the research. Yeah.
In general,
Yeah.
I can tell the difference between the Gemini
Yeah.
and the ChatGPT. So
Yeah.
I've never tried that. Actually.
Yeah. Okay. What's the main difference you notice between ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini when you interact with it?
Like,
Yeah.
when you build things,
Yeah.
use one model,
Yeah.
like you use one thing, and then you actually do the deep research on some paper or something. It's better to use ChatGPT for that. Like what I'm saying is like, what does this thing
Yes.
do?
What does it do? Yeah, absolutely. A good question.
Try that.
Yeah.
You already tried all of them. Like,
Yeah.
for your own.
But for me personally, yeah. So the key thing that this can do is it can run for longer periods of time, and therefore it can solve bigger problems. So if we think about, okay, what model for what purpose, I think that would be a good conversation to have, right? And that might help answer it. We've got these different. Every provider has different levels of intelligence that they provide. So obviously with Claude, we're talking about Haiku. You'd use that for like data annotation tasks. So let's say you wanted to triage some emails, you wanted to do something really basic, we'd use Haiku. The equivalent on GPT would probably be their Luna model, if we were using GPT 5.6, or their kind of nano and mini models, which were sort of previously. Then I'd say you have your kind of manager style everyday tasks, and so you would probably want to use Sonnet 5, GPT 5.6, Terra, I think is what they're calling it now, and of course Gemini Flash. You want to use that for everyday tasks, for intelligence. I find they're kind of kinder, but we've also now got this fourth tier that's developing, and this is the interesting part. We've got this 3-tier that we previously had: Haiku, Sonnet, and Opus. And Opus would be for the really powerful coding tasks. But what are the limitations with that, with Opus and with some of the other models, is that they struggle to run for long periods of time. So you might notice if you ask it something really complex, video editing is a really good example that we've talked about in detail here. So if you want to do video editing with Claude, it's absolutely possible. But if you think about all the steps that are involved in it, you've got massive amount of long form footage. You need to chop it all up. You probably need to transcribe it first to take out all the ums and ers. Then you want to use a tool. In this case, it would be FFmpeg to actually implement the cuts. Then once you've done that, you've got to do a color grade. You've got to add in some B-roll. In some of the cases for some of the channels I manage, that involves actually going out and screenshotting, say, newspaper articles, relevant context. Maybe you've got to use some of the image generation models, some of the video generation models to make your own B-roll. And then you've got to put that in the right place and bring it back as a finished product that's going to go viral. Probably even be some steps before that, which would be looking at what has gone viral before to work out what you should actually make next. If you want a model to do that autonomously, you're going to really struggle with Opus to do that in one step. You're probably going to have to break that into small little pieces. So you're going to have to be there in the loop, or eventually it's going to get tired. So it's going to not give you all the results that we can that it can do. This new tier with Fable and GPT 5.6 Terra, it can actually run for at least 16 hours, perhaps even longer than that. So when you've got these really complicated tasks, I'm giving you video editing as one example. Cyber hacking is another one. Obviously, you can't use these models for cyber hacking. So where does this GLM 5.2 fit in? Well, it's supposedly of that standard. It's at that top standard with GPT 5.6 Sol and with Fable 5 in what it can actually do in terms of running for longer periods of time. So when you've got a task that involves all of these complex different things that need doing and bringing back together, Fable 5 is a beast for that, but it's expensive. You run through your usage really, really quickly, and it's even more expensive than Opus. And Anthropic have even said once the usage runs out, it's not even going to be included in your plan. You're going to have to pay for it at cost on top of your plan. So this is where this comes in as important. So video editing is one of the tasks that I always come back to that I think is complicated. So it might be that I think we demo that in a minute to give everyone a little sample of what it can do. You go for it, my man. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Let's have a look. Deep. Deep SW. Okay, this one. Yeah.
It's a benchmark for their model.
Yeah.
And so it was a new benchmark released recently, so you can be sure model are not being trained to outperform the benchmark.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the homepage of the website, what it does is that it shows that GPT is significantly above Opus and everything but Fable. And the open source model, they're going down. So it gives an idea that maybe the open source model are overtrained to succeed at the best benchmark, but actually they're still quite
behind
closed source model, which would make sense in terms of investment and effort they put in this closed source model.
Yeah.
If you look at the homepage of the website, there's a nice chart.
Is this the chart you mean, or is it different? This is okay. This is the paper on yeah. Yeah. Okay, so they've updated it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so you make a really good point, which sometimes it's best to actually go out and think about what tasks you have and using the models practically, rather than just saying, okay, the benchmarks say this model is the top. Having said that, the benchmark that I think everybody's talking about with these models is the long horizon METR, which is again, how long can it run for and stay basically robust? Go for it, my man. Yeah.
I have a question about the long running tasks.
Yes.
So if it runs, for example, 2 hours, 3 hours, 10 hours, how do you prevent context drop in that kind of run?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. When you've got a long, complicated task like that, and you've got this 1 million context window, often what you're going to see happening behind the scenes, and one thing that you can implement anyway, is that it's going to go away and launch a series of sub-agents to do those tasks. So if we take video editing, you're absolutely right that it would take up all of the, almost to the end of that 1 million context window if it itself went away and did the video editing. But what it does, and so remarkably efficiently, is say, right, well, we've got all this B-roll to find, so we're going to have 20 sub-agents go out and find each one is on the hunt for different parts of B-roll. Each one's going to be assigned playwright, let's say, so that in the cloud it can get that B-roll. Another agent is going to be thinking about the FFmpeg and how do I orchestrate putting all the different clips together. So in that regard, I think that that's sort of one of the ways that it saves the context, that all those different models are going to be running as sub-agents. And so the decision about what context they get will be taken about by the orchestrator model, and then it all gets brought back. You can, of course, set that up yourself as well. Like there are ways to do that within Claude. I think they said when they brought out Opus 4.8, you can now spin up to 1,000 sub-agents, which is like mind-blowing, really, with what you can do with it. Yeah. More than you have during the things. Well, that does depend on what model has been assigned to those sub-agents. So if you want to go into that, of course, you've got to do some level of orchestration yourself. But absolutely, if you have, say, Fable 5 and uses a whole bunch of sub-agents for Fable 5, yes. But if you have Fable 5 as the orchestrator, orchestrating a whole bunch of sub-agents that are all Haiku 4.5, that would save you. But they are two different things. I think it's important to point out, right? Which is the context window, which is a fundamental limitation of the models anyway. And there are some ways that they've done to mitigate that. And then we've got the token economics as well. So the token is how much you're spending. So long as your wallet is big enough, you can have as many tokens as you want, and we can find ways to make it token efficient. That's separate from the context window itself. The context window also, it's important to note, recently there was a paper from Google that actually came out that's called Infinite Context Windows. I don't know if you remember when we were talking about that one, right? And yes, and basically what that paper said was you could have an infinite context window, but it's not really an infinite context window. What happens is once you reach a certain amount of a certain stage of your context, a model will go over, look at all of the different relationships, and then summarize them. The problem with that is you're asking a model to make the decision for you about what pieces of information stay and which pieces of information get left out. So it's by no means a correct solution, and obviously it isn't a fundamental context window. But context windows are a feature, not a bug, right? Which is that the more we go through them, the more the model erodes. So I don't think we will be able to fix that in terms of transformer architecture. All of the things that we've put in place are really kind of ways of being more efficient or clever ways of circumnavigating that. But if you think about what it actually is, right? What are we actually doing here? We're building a really, really complex, giant prediction machine. And every time we add more input to it, we're getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it just becomes so exponentially big that you just can't see the trees through the hedges. So that is never going to go away in terms of what we're actually doing when we fill out our context window. So does that make sense? Perfect. Good. Anyone else got any more questions? Anything you want to query? Go for it, my man. Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about Fable and the selling proposition here.
Yeah.
If the long running part is really the selling point, but it's so expensive.
Yes.
Aside from just orchestrating and PRDs and things like that, and then I don't really see myself.
So your point is that it's prohibitively expensive at the moment. Yeah. Well, I would say two things. I would say, first of all, remember this is the most expensive it will ever be. Right? As more models come out, the price is obviously gonna come down. The prices are going down, and people find ways to be more efficient with these models. Anthropic finds more ways to be more efficient based on all the data that you're giving it by using it to say how are people actually using this? How can we make it more efficient for people? Already we've seen an extension now twice of the usage that was included. First they said I think it was going to be the 12th of July, and now it's the 19th of July. So they're clearly finding GPU power somewhere within their data centers to be able to give to you. But the question about the how prohibitively expensive it is, I think depends on perspective. It depends what you're doing. If you're running some really complex cyber problem, imagine how much you're going to pay for an employee to do that. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds in tokens. If you are a solopreneur and you're using Fable 5, you have to think about what's the value add to my business. The way I think about it for video editing is, okay, how much are you going to pay a really sophisticated video editor? Probably quite a lot, versus how many videos can you get out of some Fable 5 usage. So yeah, let me show you some things that I've made with Fable 5, and then we'll have a go at see if we can make some things with GLM 5.2 as well, and comparing them. And I also want to tell you how you can actually port your context over in the demo section. How we can actually take our context from Claude and then move it very easily over to GLM 5.2. So I'll show you my Instagram and some of the things that Fable 5 has managed to build for me in terms of video editing and design. So I would consider video editing one of the more complex tasks, as we just said. I think that shorts are easier for it because it doesn't have so much footage, but they're still very complex. So if we look at, for instance, this, I'll put the sound on. We can see what it's done is it's taken screen recordings that I've already done and overlaid them. And then here it's actually gone out to my Instagram and done this and found this. It's used Playwright to go and do that. And then it's grabbed this carousel, which I made earlier, because I'm talking about how not to do AI slop. You see we've got two cameras here. So it's had to decide when to cut between them. It's had to make sure the audio is synced up with both of those, because the audio is obviously coming out of the mic. And it's also done a color grade as well. And it's done this little bit at the start, and it's done the captions. Now, if you wanted to do that with Opus 4.8, I've tried and I've failed before. It does, like 75% of the job requires you to intervene. And now it's got this, and we've got it as a skill. It can make these videos, at the drop of the hat on one run. Okay, it's very expensive. So this is one. We could do. Show you another one. So this is some other stuff it's done. So these are all from Higgsfield. These are from one of the image generators. So it's gone out and made them and laid them up when I'm talking about AI slop. And it's gone off and done, what else have we got? And it's screenshotted my Instagram as well. So I think managing to do all that, and it's done some zooms as well. These ones are a little bit more complicated. So Fable 5 managed to do this one as well, where I'm talking about a book. It's taken some photos and done those nice Polaroids. And again, this is more of a mock-up of Claude rather than based on a screen recording. And this is the actual computer science reading list from Oxford. It went out and found that, so I haven't given it to it. So it's going out and finding stuff and putting a soundtrack over it, doing some really, really cool stuff, doing these nice little highlights, and doing this as well. So if you type this at the end, then you'll get a freebie basically. So
not much correction you've done with the
no correction really at all. Yeah, it's done that in one shot. So this is what we mean by long horizon tasks, is that it can do that, and that is what these new models can do. That's what we mean when we're talking about it. Go for it.
How long did it run and what was the cost?
Yeah. Well, so it burned through all of my usage. My usage resets on Thursday. We're now at Tuesday. I'm out of it. Okay, so that tells you that usually it lasts me a week, and I'm on the $100 max plan.
Yeah.
What if you
prompt it like deeply, and it would just not burn as much, right?
Well, yeah. So you can make it more efficient. That's what we're going to work on now. But we asked two questions, which was how much did it cost? How long did it run for? I think it ran for about 20 or 30 minutes to be able to do this, maybe longer than that. I've set it up on my phone. So the way that I've set this up is it runs in the cloud, so it doesn't burn my computer. So we've got an environment that has access to several different things. So let's go through what is in the stack to actually do this. Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Let's see if we can find out. But the cost, remember, is coming from my usage, and the usage is obviously five. Yeah. Yeah. So my answer for that is I'm not technically sure. I'll try and give you an answer and find out maybe when we have a break. Yeah. Have a look. How long did it run for? 20 minutes, half an hour, or thereabouts. But it did managed to, as you can see, make about 3 of these and a carousel as well. And then that was kind of it burnt most of my weekly usage. So if we consider that, I'm on the 5x max plan, so $100 a month. Let's say it took 80% of it because I'd done some things before it, and I managed 3 reels, a carousel, and some other things. So let's say 5 tasks. I managed me four reels, a carousel, and I burnt through my $100. Let's say 80% of that, $80. And then I suppose you get 5 times the usage, don't you? So roughly 80 times 5. I guess if you wanted to do the API spend on it, yeah. I don't know what the input or output tokens would be, but that would be roughly the calculation. So $400 maybe, I guess, if you were spending it on pure API tokens. Pretty expensive for but then how does that compare to a video editor? So if you think about the $400 that I spent there, if I had spent $400 on API tokens, how many reels could I get out of it if I'd spent that on just on a pure video editor for shorts?
Sounds very efficient.
Yeah.
With what you could do, because if you do one shot, then it's not worth optimizing, right? But if I give you a SaaS,
yeah,
video editing, I can optimize from. I can run it for $20, $50 with
yeah,
Fable and offers.
Yeah.
And then so
is yeah.
Fable only makes sense. It's a one-time question. To repeat more than 3 or 4 times, you will find a way to optimize.
Absolutely, right, and that's where we're at, right? I'm not going to make this same mistake again, right? I'm not going to run this next week. I've actually built a skill to be able to do this, but obviously the first time you do these tasks, you are going to run through tokens. The way I usually think about it is you're going to make a mess the first time you do it. That's important, and then you turn that into a skill. So then you say, okay, we've got this output that we want. Now it's into a skill. Let's really dial down into the details. So yeah, absolutely. If you were to bring out a SaaS that did that, I wonder whether a SaaS would want to stomach this cost for Fable 5. What I often find with SaaS is that you will get them, and then you're often always fighting with them because you want the best of the best output, and they're obviously thinking about, okay, well, we've got 100 different customers. We don't want one customer, using all of this usage, because then they don't have a business, and then they will often dial down or turn down some of the features that you could get if you made this natively with Claude yourself. So, anyone else used Fable 5 or done anything kind of long running with it that they find useful?
Yeah. Yeah, I run a YouTube channel, so it's been pretty much building these long videos for me.
Oh, well.
But yeah, it's like the difference between Opus and Fable is like that.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll have to have a chat at the end, because I'm obviously doing YouTube as well. I've got a few side hustles as well that I've been using to and using Opus and Fable to grow. So yeah, I mean, it's remarkable what it can do, I think, in video editing. Let's get back to GLM 5.2. I think it's worth asking ourselves, could this actually do some video editing for us, and how could you go about using it? One kind of cheat code that you could use to get it for a cheap price is to use it with Perplexity, because your usage on Perplexity is pretty up there. I think that there's some fair usage policies, but it's pretty much unlimited, I think, usage. You don't get access to, as you can see, the best of the best of the best. So if you want to select if you want access to Opus, if you want access to 5.6 Soul, you've got to pay for the max plan. But on the Pro plan, which is included with Revolut, so if you have a Revolut, you get a free subscription to this anyway. So I'm basically getting it for free. You can use GLM 5.2, which I think is really interesting. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Harry, did you like later when you were saying that
Yeah.
you're gonna tell, or am I mistaken?
Yeah.
Because if I were to bring my quote unquote cloud
Yeah.
here, like cloud.mt and all the
Mhm.
files, like do they have the option to do that?
Yeah, I'm absolutely. I'm going to tell you how you can do that with a workaround, right? The answer to how you do that is through GitHub. And so the setup that I have is I have a second brain. I have Obsidian. So I'll show you this now. Or I will when I've attached my drive. Yeah, maybe I don't need to show you Obsidian. I'll just show you GitHub. So what I've set up is we were going to have it. We often have a conversation about where should you store your MD files, your so-called second brain. Where does it need to live? Where should it live? There's no right or wrong answer to this. Some people have them in a Google Drive folder. Some people have them on their local system. The problem is if you have them on your local system, you can't very well easily port those over to somewhere else. I have Obsidian, so a series of local files that syncs automatically with GitHub. GitHub is really useful because it's in the cloud. So all of my files live in my Claude Vault. So what this means is that whenever I want to simply port stuff over, I can simply give whatever model I'm using access to GitHub, whether it's through connector or whatever it is, then it's got access to all my files. So you'll see it's got some dot files. So dot Claude just means that in Obsidian, this is ignored, but Claude can see it. Claude can have access to it. And you can see I've got a whole range of things, and I've actually got some automations that go out and do things every day. So if we go in here, this is my skills in the cloud folder. This is where all my skills live. So if we go down to, there should be a Studio Cloud one somewhere. All kinds of different editing styles live here. This literally tells Claude what to do, how to edit, how to do things, how to use the different tools. Hyperframes is one of them. So this has both got my MD files, my cloud, but it's also got notes that are useful to me as well. So if we go on Readwise Triage, and then we go to the bottom, you can see every day, this is something that I get that is Claude Routines creates for me, that has all the stories, all the headlines that have gone in the world of AI, and it says, these are the ones you want to read, these are the ones you could probably just read the summary of, which is put there for me, and then these are ones that you're not interested in, that you want to delete. There's also a LinkedIn skill here, which basically gathers up people that I'm interested in and following on LinkedIn, and summarizes their posts, gives me links to their posts in the last 24 hours and lets me comment on them. So all of my data is here. So if you want to connect this to Perplexity and use GLM 5.2, you can simply go to Perplexity, and then you would want to go here to all settings, and you go to connectors, and then you would simply add GitHub as a connector. And this is one way of doing it, right? And so now, having allowed all of these, the Open Router on whatever model I want can simply access everything that is in my GitHub very, very easily. That's one way of doing it. Obviously, you could do this with Open Router. You could also spin up your own tool. So I also built myself this. This doesn't work as effectively because obviously it's just an app that I've vibe coded. And this is Ada. Who knows why it's called Ada? Ada is after Ada Lovelace, who was one of the first women who invented the computer effectively in the 19th century, very famous scientist, mathematician. So I vibe coded and built this myself. And when you press here, you have all of the access to all of, so including GLM 5.2. So you could go away and you could build yourself something like this as well if you wanted to use it. And then what you can do is if I press the plus here, settings.
Essentially from here, you get access to all models.
Exactly. Yeah. The API key. Yeah. And then you can just put your GitHub here with a postal access token, obviously, and then hey presto, you can access anything you want. You can access Higgsfield, GitHub. So we can do that way. Easier way for people who don't want to mess around, fiddling, is probably to go to GitHub. So if we go and we now chat to Perplexity, and we say, okay, let's chat with GLM 5.2, we can say, we'll at GitHub, and we'll say what skills are available. In my available to you from my GitHub repo. Claude Vault is the name of the repo. We'll press enter. And you can see it's going away, it's checking it, and we just added in the GitHub repo you saw. So you can do that with any tool. You can put instantly in there if you're into cold email. I think probably getting YouTube analytics in there would probably be a bit more complicated because you've got tokens and it doesn't auth very well. There we go. It's hyperframes. We've got video, and we've got all these video content creation skills.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Is there like a direct towards instead of I wasn't sure why you wanted to
Yeah. Yeah, really, really good question. But let's go back to what is Obsidian and why would there not be a MCP connection with Obsidian? Obsidian is a local tool. When you break it down, really, it's simply a collection of folders. So the reason I went to go and grab my SSD drive, and then I'll just show you on GitHub, is it lives locally on my SSD drive, and it's simply a bunch of folders. So the entire structure you saw of folders within folders is simply almost like text files within it. But Obsidian lives locally on the system. So you wouldn't be able to do this in the cloud if simply your files were here. You need to sync them somehow with the cloud. And so there is a free plugin for Obsidian which simply lets you sync with a Vault in GitHub, and that's what I do. So every time I update on Obsidian, it's right into the local files, but I think every 5 minutes it will do a commit up to the cloud so that they are pretty much almost in live sync with each other. And it also runs on my mobile as well. So I have a separate Vault on my mobile, which is also syncing. So GitHub is the source of truth. And it runs well 98% of the time. Sometimes there are conflict issues if I'm on my phone or on my mobile at the same time that you have to be careful of, that Claude can help you resolve. Does that make sense? Perfect. So GitHub is just a really useful way of storing files, really. Storing images is a little tricky because they're big. It doesn't like you storing big images. But if you're just storing text files, which skills are, and you're just storing code, GitHub is the perfect place. Claude likes GitHub and can connect to it very easily, and everybody seems to like it. So for now, they have the monopoly over this ecosystem. So since it's got access to this skill, we could maybe say to it, could you actually go away and do some video content creation for us? Or could you come up with some ideas? So we could say, could you come up with some ideas for my personal YouTube channel shorts, 10 to 20, that will likely go viral based on what has done well so far from last week. And it should have access to that data because my second brain has access to all of my stats and all of my data.
What do you mean the second brain has access? Is it that you guys
Yeah, so it goes out every day on a routine, on a cron job, and it goes and it pulls all of my latest stats from YouTube and writes them in a document that sits in GitHub. That's what I mean by that. I should have explained that more clearly. So the beauty of GitHub is that you can also and running things in the cloud is you can also run cron jobs. Everybody know what a cron job is or heard of it? Yeah. Also known as a routine, which is where you can basically say every day, 8 a.m., I want you to go out onto the internet, grab this piece of data for me, and then put it into a document for me or update this dashboard, update this document. And so you can have, I think, up to 15 on Claude doing that. GitHub allows you to do these natively as well. So you could actually set these up on GitHub to go out and do tasks for you every day as well. So it can see clearly all of my memory and all of my data, and here are 20 ideas for it. I gave Claude my entire Obsidian Vault as memory. Claude Code built me a YouTube stats dashboard in 10 minutes, and I run my entire life from a GitHub repo. So these are really cool. I think are really really interesting as to how you could run them. Go for it. Yeah.
Just best practices and wondering how much of your problem every time from
Yeah, this is a good question. So it only uses it's not trying to feed in my entire GitHub repo outwards. It very intuitively, because of the filing system that we've got, knows where to go, right? So if I tell it I'm social media, I've got a social media folder, and then within that there's a personal YouTube channel, and then within that there'll be there's some skills and some markdown files within that tell it this is this project and this is what you need to do. So every time it's going to do that, it's pulling those markdown files. It's like having a mini Claude MD file for each of my different projects. That's how I've structured it, and Claude has written those. But you're absolutely right. I'm not just saying to it, "Here you go. Here's everything I've ever done." Yeah.
what kind of data are you getting with your cron job? Like analytics
Yes, absolutely. We should definitely chat about that. It's rather complicated to do. Um,
as far as I know, there's
yeah, there's no API that's reliable that works. You need to do some complicated things with Google Developer Console backend. If you approved three of there's three different there's a reporting API, there's another one. You can get the more detailed data like your CTR and your view duration, but it is quite a pain to try to do that, I think. So I would allocate an afternoon to fiddling around with it to try and do it. Yeah.
I tried doing it, but I ended up using works just do it manually from my browser very much.
Yeah. Yeah. You absolutely you can do it. So yeah, let's chat. Maybe there's some knowledge I can share with you there about how you do it. But it involves environments and setting up environment keys and API secrets and some complicated workarounds. Why they want to do that and they haven't just set up an MCP server like everyone else, I don't know. But maybe Lewis can go and have a go at the people at YouTube. Security stuff now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Regarding this API
Yeah.
I've been pushing really hard in the past 2 weeks to use code and saying, I don't want to do it, just go figure out yourself.
Yeah.
And it does. Very often, if
Yeah.
you start a GitHub from online, if you start all these tools and you will replicate already, so basically you have access to
Yeah.
all cloud tools, and it goes and figure out and do whatever you need. It's not 80%, but I push really hard and one time just go use the browser, go to my browser and do the last step to
Yeah.
from online.
It really, really doesn't like to do that. You really have to push it hard to do that, but it will do it eventually. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the use cases you don't want to create the token inside
And you create the token, you put wrong permission, it's very stressful because you go there, you go through 5, 6 clicks on a dashboard, and you end up, oh, I did it wrong. Why did I do wrong? How did it go this and that? And with very tech-friendly there, GitHub, all these things, we set up a command line tool. You authenticate, just log in, like when you log into your code, and go to my page, you log in. After that, it's done, and figure out. And of course, when environment is set up, any prompt has access to all these tools and all these resources. So this is I think the reason why Cloud is telling you to do it with prohibition basis, it's very unlikely that another prompt later can access these resources because they're not accessible via command line. But if you know what you're doing, if you know that the scope of the things you're doing is quite reasonably constrained, you can really push hard and for a non-technical user, I think that could be a really
yeah, it is. Your Google Cloud Console is absolutely horrible. I honestly, it's it's the worst place to go. I have clients as well that wanted this set up for them, and they've been like, all right, I guess I'm gonna have to do this for you, and I'm just taking their laptop. Now I can do it in about 2 hours if I'm lucky, but they change all the time where all the menus are. I've had no luck getting it to do anything where it needs to log in. If I tell, for instance, Claude I need you to use browser use to log into Google, it just simply won't do it. It says you need to be the one that logs in. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So once you do the login yourself, you can.
Yeah, absolutely. But doing logins on its own is one thing that it won't do. One thing you can do is I have it go and manage my Threads account for me now. So I did a bit of an experiment. I said, well, I'm not on Threads. It's an underutilized channel. Why don't we have Claude go out and go crazy, right? Yeah. So it will do it in the cloud on routine for me 3 times a day. But to do it, you have to grab your cookies from the session and put them in the setup script and to get it to go and do that. But it has been doing that for the last, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. So with reasonable results, we're at 16. So we do 2 things. Yeah, we do. It uses Playwright with my cookie session in it for Threads, so that it uses essentially browser automation to do that. And then it publishes via a publisher that I have already, and Anton's tool, Post Hero, that I use. Anton works in BWork, his SaaS. So it has 2 separate routines. One that's figuring out what to post like every day and making sure that we're always posting and we're doing visually interesting things with Threads, and another one which is actually going out and doing the commenting. And the skills for those live in GitHub. So then I have a third routine that I'm in the process of building, which will update this skill to make sure that it's always refining and to what is actually working, what's getting the most amount of comments and views. So you can do things autonomously with browser use with cookies for sure, if you don't mind potentially being banned. One thing I really, really cannot do and figure out, if anyone knows the answer to this, you're genius, which is what I want now is to be able to, is for Claude to go off and actually clip YouTube videos for me and autonomously turn them into shorts. And I know that it can do this because I make the shorts myself, and I know that it can pull long form videos, but the step that's blocking it is that YTDLP, which is the tool that lets you take those videos, it forces you to be logged in, and it also blocks you into doing that if you are it knows you're a data center. So Claude in the cloud is obviously a data center IP. So now I'm trying to think about how can I get around that. If it works in the cloud, no, it works in the cloud, but it works locally. Yeah, it works fine without a cookie session, but in the cloud, it says you need to be logged in if you're a data center IP. They don't want you doing that, but if you run it locally, they don't care about cookies. The reason I care about cookies is obviously I've got a channel with nearly 10,000 subscribers on it. I do not want to get that channel banned by putting my cookies into it. So because I want to run it without me. I don't want to have to open my laptop every morning and have my laptop open to run it, right? I want the routine to autonomously go to every morning, regardless of whether I'm on a plane, whether I've got my laptop open, to go to YouTube, look for certain channels, and when a new video appears, download their content and then run my skills to clip them into shorts. Yeah.
Automatically downloading all these videos.
Sorry?
The script is downloading all the videos without discrimination.
Yeah, it's downloading the videos whenever a new video gets puts up, and then looking for the best moments, picking them and turning them into to shorts. So yeah, that's the routine basically. Yeah. When a new video comes out on a certain topic by a certain person, turn them into short form content. Whether it's my channel, whether it's one of the channels I'm running, or like someone else's. So the routine is video gets uploaded, or video another channel gets uploaded, gets downloaded, turned into shorts, and then automatically published. So the step blocking it from happening all completely autonomously is the IP issue with having to be logged in and having a cookie session in on YT DLP. And I don't want to put my cookies into YT DLP, but you don't have to have that locally. So clearly there is a way to use YT DLP. It's just the fact that it's a data center IP that they're blocking it. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, apologies, we got off on a little bit of a tangent there. We basically talking about how to do YouTube automation, but let's get back to GLM 5.2 before we have a little bit of a break and wrap up. Let's see if we could do some short form video editing with it. Let's see what it does if it tries to scrape one of my videos. So what we could ask it is, could you now there might be some limitations with this because we're just doing something in the cloud. We don't have a virtual machine set up to be able to do this. So it's interesting, isn't it? It's directing us back to Claude Code. But what we can do is we can actually get the we have a coding agent from GLM 5.2. So what would people want for the final part of the session before we wrap up? I want to do a little bit of a demo. What would be more useful for people? Showing people how you set up a second brain on GitHub and how you put your information in there, or us having a little bit of a play with GLM. Thank you, brother. What would be more useful for people? Setting up doing a second brain with GitHub and showing you how you do that? Is that what would be useful for people? Okay. Okay, cool. Let's do that then, rather than thinking about GLM. So if we want to turn a second brain, if we want to get out of context and we want to put it into a second brain, the first thing we need to do is obviously we want to be thinking about a system that we can use. And if we're going to be doing Obsidian, we're going to want to set up a new vault on Obsidian. So we'll do that. So Obsidian is free. We can download it for free. So we'll create a vault and we'll call this Claude backup. And we'll pick a location. So let's save it on my desktop. Or maybe we'll call it GLM the vault. We'll just call it the vault, shall we? So as we can see, this is Obsidian and this is your new vault. When we open it, whatever files we create here in our filing system, so if we go down and we make a new folder and maybe we call this skills, and maybe we make a new one and we call it AI for everyone. When we go into the vault on the folder, you can see that filing system appears here as well. If we want to create subfolders as well, maybe we want to make a new folder that's for video editing, that appears here as well. So if we wanted to connect this up to any model or anything that we're doing, the first thing we want to do is obviously sync this with GitHub, and then we can connect Claude to GitHub, and we can also point it at this folder. So if we go here and we go to community plugins, we probably want to turn on community plugins, and then if we browse, there is one called Git by Vincent. So we will install that. And then we press enable to make sure that it's enabled. Oh. And then what we want to do is we want to go and make sure that we set up our vault on GitHub. So we're going to set up a new vault, and we'll call this the vault test. We're obviously going to want to make it private as well. So then this is like going to be our vault. Now what we're trying to do is we want to sync this with Claude and with Obsidian as well. So we'll go back to Obsidian. And we want to go on the settings. So we've gone on the plugins. Remember, so we've gone to the plugins of Obsidian. So Obsidian has this series of plugins that you can simply add into it. Press Option. And then it's asking us for all of our information from GitHub. So I think we need to go. Where are we? No, not that one. Thank you for that. Let me, I think. Yes, this is a good, yeah, that's should be deal clause. So it's a little bit more complicated than I anticipated, but what you do is essentially you grab your authentication key from GitHub, you grab a path, an access key, you can give that to Obsidian, and Obsidian will then be synced every 10 minutes to GitHub. And the idea is any information that you put in here is attached to GitHub. And because this is just a folder, we can point Claude Code at this folder. Indeed, we could point any model that we get. We could point OpenAI. We could even point whatever model we have selected. If we've got an open source model, just like you've seen with my little tool that I built here, we could say, okay, I want to add in the settings here. I want to change the vault maybe to the vault test. So we could do that, and we could say, let's use GLM. That's what we've been talking about, 5.2, and we could say that this is what I ate one day. So we can say, can you send this? Write it to my GitHub vault, please. as a new file and create a new folder called fitness, and we'll see what it does. So you kind of get the gist of what we're doing here. Like, why are we doing all these things? It's so that our knowledge is sat in one specific place, and it's not the model here. I'll use that name rather than creating a duplicate. Let me write the nutrition log there, and it's writing it for us. Claude Vault Fitness. So I think it might be writing it to the wrong vault. Can you write it? Let's check we're in the right vault. Going through a few steps very slowly. I will actually stop this and say, can you write it to the vault test? Oh. Because we were sending that to the wrong vault, I think. But we could do this with any model as well. So we could do this if we wanted to. If we wanted to use Claude, we could. And look at how many models that are available to us as well, which is kind of crazy. So if we said we wanted to use one of NVIDIA's Nematron models, we could ask it as well and see how well it does. Yeah, NVIDIA have models of their own now as well, so it's pretty cool. If you look at this list, we've got the insane amount of models. All of these, and some of these I've never heard of. Amazon, of course, have got their own models now as well. I've jumped on that bandwagon. Anthropic, ByteDance, probably heard of that. The C-Dance models are really great. And of course, we've got DeepSeek as well, and all the older models as well as the DeepSeek version 4. A lot of these models, I think, are pretty much depreciated on OpenAI's API, which is quite interesting that they're listed here. I don't know whether they are, you can still use them, or where it's calling them from. And then, of course, here we've got the Grok one as well, Grok 4.5, which has just come out. So when you look at this huge amount of choice, and you think about what we're using, which is sort of just the drop in the ocean, there's a huge amount of choice available on the market now, different models that you can use. Yeah.
And how did you build it?
I asked Claude to build it, and I obviously checked over the code as well to make sure it was well. But it's very simple wrapper. It's calling OpenRouter. So it's simply calling OpenRouter's API, and a few others as well. It's also calling Higgsfield as well. Obviously, that OpenRouter is marking you up, so I'm probably paying a little bit extra for that. But it's the most simple architecture, I think, to build something like this. Of course, if you want cheaper prices, you could go out and call all of the APIs individually from the different providers. Yeah. All right, shall we wrap up? I'm thinking maybe we can go across the road to Cafe Coach if you guys want to ask some questions and get a few drinks. But I'll just sum up. So if you want to stay in touch with me, and I think we've been joined by Seb as well and Mac. So hi guys. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, you can. I'll just bring that up for you. And if you're interested in some of the more technical stories that we've been talking about as well, I've also got a channel I make content for G-Core as well. So I'm going to be going in depth this week on GLM 5.2 and talking through some of the more details on some of the paper. And we've got some stuff here about some of the hacking that some of these models have been doing. So this model here, the video here will go through all of the 32 stage exploit in detail that Mythos actually managed to hack into an entire system. So yeah, I hope this was somewhat insightful for you. Next week, I'm actually going back to the UK, but we're going to run it online. So you're welcome to turn up here, and the BWork are actually going to put on a little a video link to me as well. But I appreciate you all of you for everyone who's been coming these last few months, and I will be back, I think, in the middle of August in person. So I'll be gone for 3 or 4 weeks. But you are welcome to join wherever you are in the world, here from BWork or online as well. We'll do a bit of a Google Meet next week. Yep. Yes. So we'll be streaming and on Google Meet and in here in person as well. So however you wish to join, if you want to come and congregate for an in-person thank you, or you want to join online as well, you can. So yeah. All right, so I think we're going across the road to Cafe Coach, which is literally across the road, and we can get some drinks, and there's some food available in a really nice upstairs area if you would like to join me. Thank you, and thank you everyone for joining us online as well.